I spent 15 years and a fortune at the bottom of a glass, chasing something I couldn't name, trying to outrun my past. Every bartender from here to Dallas knows me by my drink. Jack on the rocks, keep 'em coming, don't give me time to think. I told myself I needed it, told myself it'd help, that the burning going down somehow numbed what I had felt. But every morning after I woke up just the same, with the same old pain and a brand new dose of shame. I was drowning in the cure that was killing me instead, fighting fire with gasoline, fighting life with living dead. Whiskey ain't the healer, it's just liquid lies in a bottle, promising relief but delivering regret, making death out of every swallow. I spent years running from my demons through the bottom of a fifth, but whiskey ain't the healer, it's the sickness dressed up as a gift. What healed me was a prayer on a silent, desperate night, when I finally stopped running and fell into the light. Last Tuesday I hit bottom, couldn't even stand. My daughter's graduation that I watched from the parking lot with shaking hands. Too drunk to walk inside, too ashamed to drive away. Just sat there in my truck while my whole life slipped away. And something in that moment finally cracked me wide apart. I fell down on my knees in that parking lot and bared my heart. Said, God, I can't do this, I've tried everything I know. If you're real and if you're listening, please don't let me go. And the silence that came after wasn't empty like before. It was full of something holy I've been running from for sure. Whiskey ain't the healer, that's the devil's oldest con, selling poison as the medicine, telling you to just hold on. One more drink, one more night, one more year down the drain. But whiskey ain't the healer, it's the amplifier of the pain. What healed me was surrender, was admitting I was beat, was a prayer I barely whispered in a parking lot on my knees. Maybe that's the secret, that we can't heal ourselves alone, that all the substitutes we try just keep us from coming home to the God who's been waiting, with a real cure in his hands. Not in bottles, not in pills, not in any earthly plans, but in grace that's freely given to the ones who finally see that whiskey ain't the healer, surrender is the key. And the prayer you pray in desperation when you got nowhere to hide is the moment that the real healing finally comes inside. Whiskey ain't the healer, I know that now for sure. I wasted 15 years believing that the poison was a cure, but healing came on a silent night, when I stopped trying to be strong, when I traded in the bottle for a prayer and moved along. From the bar stool to the altar, from the running to the rest, Whiskey ain't the healer, but Jesus is, and I'm blessed. What saved me was a moment of honest desperation, a prayer on my knees in a parking lot became my liberation. Whiskey ain't the healer, never was, never will be, but grace is, and mercy is, and prayer has set me free. 90 days sober today, and I finally walked my daughter down the aisle. Whiskey promised healing, but prayer delivered it. I've been going through the motions for the better part of 10 years. Clock in, clock out, don't feel much of anything. No joy and no tears, just numb from the neck down, just existing day to day. Like a ghost inside my own life, like I'm slowly fading away. My wife says, where'd you go? But I don't have an answer. I'm right here in the flesh, but something's missing from the center of who I used to be before the world wore me down flat, before I learned to just survive and forgot there's more than that. And something broke the silence on a Tuesday afternoon, like lightning in the distance, getting closer, coming soon. There's thunder in my soul, something's waking up inside, a voice that's louder than my fear, louder than the lies I believe. There's thunder in my soul, shaking what's been dead too long. God is speaking through the storm, and I'm coming back to life. I feel the lightning in my veins, feel the rumble in my chest. There's thunder in my soul tonight, and I ain't going back to sleep. I was driving home from work when the radio went to static. Then this voice came through the noise, something holy, something magic, saying, son, you weren't made for this half-alive existence. I created you for passion, for purpose, for resistance, against a world that wants to make you small and make you numb. Wake up, stand up, remember who you are and where you're from. And it hit me like a freight train, made of fire and of grace, that I've been sleepwalking for a decade, through a life I didn't face. But the thunder keeps on rolling, getting louder in my bones, telling me it's time to come alive, time to come back home. There's thunder in my soul, something's rising from the grave, a voice that's drowning out the doubt, silence in the shame. There's thunder in my soul, waking what I thought was gone. God is speaking through the storm, calling me to carry on. I feel the power in my spirit, feel the fire in my eyes. There's thunder in my soul tonight, and I'm finally alive. Maybe we all need a way wake-up call, a holy disruption, a voice that shakes the foundation of our comfortable destruction, of our slow decline into half-lived lives. Maybe God speaks in thunder when whispers won't suffice, when we've grown too comfortable with being numb inside. He sends a lightning, he sends a storm to wake the dead parts, to sound the horn that says, get up, rise up. You weren't made for this. You weren't made for glory. You were made for more than just existing through your day, surviving through your night. I made you for explosion. I made you for the fire. There's thunder in my soul, and it's shaking everything. A voice is louder than the world, louder than the suffering. There's thunder in my soul, breaking through the years of sleep. God is speaking through the storm, and his voice runs deep. I feel it in my bones now, feel it in my blood. There's thunder in my soul tonight, like a spiritual flood, washing out the numbness, drowning out the fear. There's thunder in my soul, and everything is clear. I'm awake, I'm alive, I'm back from the dead. There's thunder in my soul, and I'm listening to what it says. The thunder keeps on rolling, the voice keeps getting stronger. I'm awake now, I'm alive now. I won't sleep any longer. My guitar's got a crack down the middle from when I dropped it drunk in '09. The low E string keeps breaking, won't hold a tune half the time. My voice ain't what it used to be, years of smoking took their toll. I can barely hit the high notes anymore, can't sing like when I was young and whole. But I stood up in that nursing home last Sunday afternoon, and with my broken down guitar and my worn out tune, and I played Amazing Grace with strings that wouldn't stay in key. And an old man in the corner started crying right in front of me. Later on he told me that my song had touched his heart, and I realized God don't need perfection, he just needs a willing start. With broken strings and holy hands, he makes music from our brokenness. With fading voices raised to him, he turns our weakness into strength and blessedness. We don't have to be flawless to be faithful, don't have to be perfect to be used. God's been working through cracked vessels since the beginning, it's nothing new. Broken strings, holy hands, that's all he ever asks. Just bring what you got, he'll supply the rest. I used to play the honky-tonks from Memphis to Abilene, had dreams of making records, but being something they'd never seen. But life had different plans for me. The music never paid, so I got a job at the factory, put my guitar away. For 15 years it sat there gathering dust up in the closet, till my pastor asked if I'd play for folks who'd been forgotten, in the nursing homes and hospitals where nobody else would go. I said my guitar's broken and my voice is shot, and he said perfect, let's go. He said God's not looking for the polished or the slick, He's looking for the ones who'll show up broken, but with faith that sticks, with broken strings and holy hands. He makes miracles from our mess, with crackling voices singing off key. He reaches hearts in ways that perfection never could, I guess. We don't have to wait until we're fixed up, don't have to get it all just right. God's been using broken instruments to be His hands and feet and light. Broken strings, holy hands, that's a testimony I now understand. Just offer what you have, He'll multiply the rest. Maybe that's the point of the widow's mite, of the boy's small lunch, of the mustard seed's might. God takes what little we can give, what's cracked and worn and true, and He makes it enough to feed the multitude. Paul had his thorn, Moses had his stutter, David had his past. Peter walked on water, then started sinking fast. But God kept using them in spite of what they lacked, 'cause it's through our weakness that His power shows up best. When we stop pretending and just offer Him the rest of who we really are, broken strings and all, that's when heaven starts to move, that's when we hear the call. With broken strings and holy hands, He's making music every day, through people just like you and me, who gave up on being perfect and just gave themselves away. We don't have to be the greatest, don't have to have it figured out. God's been working through the broken, that's what grace is all about. Broken strings, holy hands, that's a gospel truth I've found. Just bring your cracked guitar, your worn out voice, your life that's fallen down. He'll use it all for glory, make it holy, make it whole. Broken strings and holy hands, that's how He saves the soul. This old guitar may be broken, my voice may be shot, but God's still using it, and that's enough. I can still smell that kitchen from 30 years ago. Strong black coffee brewing on the stove, wood smoke from the firebox where Grandma kept it warm, through Kentucky winters and every coming storm. She'd be up before the sunrise every single day, kneeling by her bedside. I'd hear her start to pray for me, for Mama, for Daddy when he left, for provision, for protection, for God's mercy and His best. I was just a boy, but I remember every word. The way her voice would crack when she knew I overheard. And something in that mixture of the earthly and divine, of coffee, smoke, and prayers that rose like incense to the sky. I was raised by smoking prayers, by a woman who knew God by His first name, who talked to Him like He was sitting in that chair. I was raised on simple faith, on the kind that gets up early every day to meet with Jesus while the world's still fast asleep. I was raised by smoking prayer, and they made a man of me. She'd pour 2 cups of coffee, set one on the table, said, "That's for Jesus, He's here. I know He's able to hear a poor old woman with her worries and her needs." Then she'd read a worn-out Bible, talk to Him like He could see every fear, every hope, every grandchild in her care. And I learned more about Jesus in that kitchen than anywhere. The preacher never taught me what those mornings did about a God who shows up faithful in the simple, in the hidden moments of devotion that nobody else would see. That's where Grandma met with Jesus, and where Jesus met with me. And the smell of burning oak wood and the taste of bitter brew, I found a faith that wasn't fancy, but was absolutely true. I was raised by smoking, by hands that worked the farm and worked the altar just the same, who never learned theology but knew Jesus by His care, who taught me God shows up when you speak His name. I was raised on morning meetings between a widow and her Lord, on the kind of faith that's proven not by what you say, but by what you're living for. I was raised by smoking prayers, and they carried me this far. Now I'm 47, and I get up every morning just like she did. Make my coffee, light the fire, talk to Jesus like a kid who's learning from his grandma how to live and how to pray, how the holy and the ordinary meet each day. In a kitchen before sunrise, in the quiet and the still, where the coffee's always brewing and God's presence always will be as real as the smoke rising, as the prayers upon my lips, as the memory of a woman who taught me about this kind of faith that doesn't need a cathedral or a crowd, just a wood stove and a coffee pot and a heart that's bowed. I was raised by smoking prayers, by a grandmother who left a legacy of grace, who showed me that the holy ground is everywhere, not just in some distant sacred place. I was raised to meet with Jesus in the morning when the world's still dark, to pour Him coffee, speak my heart, and listen for His voice to start the day with truth and light. I was raised by smoking prayers, and now I'm raising my kids the same, teaching them that God shows up in coffee and in flames, in the simple, faithful rhythms of a life that's given away. I was raised by smoking prayers, and I'm living that way today. I still smell that coffee, still feel that wood smoke warm, still hear her whisper prayers in every dawn. I'm sitting in my truck at the county line sign. Engines running, hands are shaking, running out of time to make the choice I've been avoiding for the last 3 years, since I did what I did and disappeared from here. Just beyond that sign is a town where I was raised, where everybody knows my name and knows what I betrayed. My wife, my kids, my word, my faith, everything I swore. And I don't know if I can drive across and face them anymore. But something's pulling me forward, while something holds me back, between the man I was and the man I'm trying to get back. There's forgiveness at the county line, if I can find the courage just to cross. There's grace waiting on the other side, if I can lay down my pride and count the cost of carrying this guilt another mile, another year, another day. There's forgiveness at the county line, but I gotta choose to go that way. I can turn around, keep running, keep the weight upon my chest, or I can cross that line and find out if mercy's waiting there to give me rest. There's forgiveness at the county line, and I'm running out of road. I left on a Tuesday morning without saying goodbye. Packed a bag, left a note, couldn't look her in the eye. After she found out what I'd done, who I'd been with, how I'd lied, I didn't wait for her to tell me to go. I just ran and hid. For 3 years I've been living in a one-room apartment in Nashville, working construction, drinking heavy, trying to escape the guilt. But every night I dream about that house on Sycamore Street, and every morning I wake up knowing I'm incomplete without the life I left behind, without making it right. Now I'm sitting at this county line like it's the edge of life. There's forgiveness at the county line, if I'm brave enough to ask. There's a woman who might listen if I finally face my past, and my kids who might remember who their daddy used to be. There's forgiveness at the county line, if grace is big enough for me. I could stay here in this limbo between running and coming home, or I can cross that line believing that I don't have to be alone. There's forgiveness at the county line, and it's calling out my name. Maybe that's what all of life is, standing at some kind of line between the past that wants to hold us and the future we can't find without crossing over into the unknown and the unsure. Maybe faith is just deciding that what's waiting is the cure for the sickness of our running, for the weight of what we've done. Maybe grace is on the other side of every county line we come to in our journey toward redemption, toward the place we're meant to be. Maybe God puts boundaries in our path, so we have to choose to see that forgiveness is a doorway we have to walk through on our own. else can make us cross it. We have to choose to come back home. There's forgiveness at the county line, and I'm crossing over now, with my heart in my hands and tears on my brow. I don't know what's waiting for me on the other side of this sign, but I know I can't keep carrying this weight another mile down the line. So I'm crossing over into whatever comes next. There's forgiveness at the county line, and I'm finally taking that step. I'm leaving the guilt behind me, right here at this county road. I'm crossing over into mercy. I'm finally going home. There's forgiveness at the county line, and I chose to cross today. The sign's in my rear view now. I'm on the other side, heading towards Sycamore Street, with hope and fear collide. God, I'm sitting here at this county line, and I'm terrified that when I drive into town, when I knock on that door, she'll tell me it's too late, that I broke it so bad there's no fixing it, that I stayed gone too long and the door's closed now. But I'm also terrified of what happens if I turn around and keep running. Another 3 years, another 10, another lifetime carrying this guilt that's crushing me. I can't do it anymore, Lord. I need forgiveness from her, from my kids, from myself, from you. And I'm finally ready to ask for it, even if the answer is no. Help me be brave enough to cross this line, to face what I've done. I'm crossing over now. Be with me.